पसंद नहीं करती थी, मिसेस मर्काडो, मिसेस जॉनसन। और ये जो लड़की थी जो रेली गर्ल, रेली कौन सी थी वो, मिसेस रेली, शीला, वो भी नहीं पसंद करती थी। शीला को जो था वो शायद वो लड़का जो था वो पसंद था, ठीक है ना, जिसका नाम था शीला रेली, वो यंग अमेरिका जिसको पसंद था, तो शीला जो थी उससे मिलने आती थी। आई हर्ड फादर दिस थिंग. As a matter of fact, I didn't like Mrs. L any too much at first. She used to jump down at my throat every time I opened my mouth. But I've begun to understand her better now. She's one of the kindest women I've ever met. You find yourself telling her all the foolish scrapes you got into before you know where you are. She's got her knife into Sheila really, I know. But then Sheila has been damn rude to her once or twice. मैं शीला रेली जो थी बदतमीजी से बिहेव किया था, तो मतलब मिसेस लाइडनर को पसंद नहीं था, तो उन्हें जवाब सा दे दिया था. That's the worst of Sheila. She's got no manners and a temper like a devil. और शीला रेली को गुस्सा बहुत आता है, भयंकर गुस्सा है उसका. That I could well believe. डॉक्टर रेली spoiled her. डॉक्टर रेली ने उसको बिगाड़ दिया था. शीला रेली का गुस्सा बड़ा भयंकर था. Of course, she's bound to get a bit full of herself, being the only young woman in the place. But that doesn't her excuse her talking to Mrs. Lydna as though Mrs. Lydna were her great aunt. Mrs. शीला रेली ऐसे बात करती जैसे वो जो है उसकी great aunt हो. Mrs. L's not exactly a chicken, but she's a damn good looking woman. मतलब चिकन नहीं है, मतलब यंग नहीं है, पर है तो बहुत सुंदर. Rather like those fairy women who come out of the marshes with lights and lure you away. He added bitterly, you won't find Sheila rolling anyone. All she does is to tick a fellow off. मतलब मिसेस लाइडनर के जो थी आदमी जो था आकर्षित होते थे, शीला रैली के पीछे कोई नहीं कहता. अम्मा सो रही हो क्या? माँ, अम्मा, अम्मा, उठो प्लीज उठो, ये बात गलत है, उठ जाओ. I only remember two other incidents of any kind of significance. One was when I went to the laboratory to fetch some acetone to get stickiness off my fingers from making the pottery. तो acetone लेने गई to get stickiness in the pottery. Mr. Mercado was sitting in a corner. His head was laid down in his arms, and I fancied he was asleep. I took the bottle I wanted and went off with it. That evening, much to my great surprise, Mrs. Mercado tackled me. Did you take the bottle of acetone from the lab? Yes, I did, I said. You know perfectly well that there's a small bottle always kept in the antica room. She spoke quite angrily. Is there? I didn't know. हमेशा एक एंटिका रूम में एक छोटी सी बॉटल एसीटोन की पड़ी रहती. तुमने एसीटोन वहाँ से क्यों लिया? I think you're dead. You just wanted to come spying around. I know what hospital nurses are. ये hospital nurses spies होती हैं. तुम बस spying के लिए वहाँ पे गई थी. I stared at her. I don't know what you're talking about, Mrs. Mercado, I said with dignity. I'm sure I don't want to spy on anyone. मेरा कोई intention नहीं कि मैं spy कर सकूं. Oh no, of course not. Do you think I don't know what you're here for? मुझे पता है तुम किस लिए आई हो. Really, for a minute or two, I thought she must have been drinking. I went away without saying any more, but I thought it was very odd. The other thing was nothing very much. I was trying to entice a pie dog pup with a piece of bread. It was very timid, however, like all Arab dogs, and was convinced that I meant no good. It slunk away and I followed it. एक डॉग था, खाना खिलाना चाहिए था, वो भागा, this thing said, out through the archway and round the corner of the house. I came around so sharply that before I knew I had cannoned into Father Levigny and another man who was standing together. Father Levigny और एक और आदमी दोनों साथ साथ खड़े हुए थे. And in a minute I realized the second man was the same one, Mrs. Leitner, and I had noticed that day trying to peer through the window. वही आदमी जो कि उस दिन विंडो के थ्रू देख रहा था, वो फादर लिविंगनी के साथ था. I apologized and Father Livigny smiled, and with a word of farewell greeting to the other man, he returned to the house with me. You know, he said, I'm very ashamed. I'm a student of Oriental languages and none of the men on the work can understand me. It is humiliating, do you not think? I was trying my Arabic on that man, who's a townsman, to see if I gotten better, but still wasn't very successful. मैं उससे अरबिक से बात करने का चाह रहा था, Oriental man, but पता नहीं. Leitner says my Arabic is too low. Leitner कहता तुम्हारा Arabic जो pure है. That was all. But it just passed to my head that it was all the same man should still be hanging around the house. अरे माँ. That night we had a scare. It must have Amma sun lo abhi. It must have been about 2 in the morning. I'm a light sleeper, as most nurses have to be. A nurse ज़्यादा सोती नहीं है, तो light nurse this thing थी. I was awake and sitting up in bed by the time my door opened. Nurse, nurse. It was Mrs. Leidner's voice, low and urgent. I struck a match and lighted the candle. She was standing by the door and locked to dressed gown. She was looking petrified with terror. वो डरी हुई थी. There is someone in the room next to mine. I heard him scratching the wall. मैंने सुना वो स्क्रैच कर रहा था वॉल पे. I jumped out of the bed and I came to her. It's all right, I said, I'm here. Don't be afraid, my dear. She whispered, get Eric. I nodded and ran out and knocked on his door. In a minute, he was with us. Mrs. Leidner was sitting on my bed, her breath coming in great gasps. I heard him, she said, I heard him scratching on the wall. मैंने किसी आदमी को स्क्रैच करते हुए देखा वॉल पे. Someone in the anteca room, cried Dr. Leidner. He ran out quickly, and it just flashed across my mind how differently those two had reacted. Mrs. Leidner's fear was entirely personal. Mrs. Leidner थी एकदम interpersonal थी. But Dr. Leidner's mind leapt at once to his precious treasures. Dr. Leidner को लगा मेरे कोई treasure ना ले जाए. Antica room, Mrs. Leidner, of course, how stupid of me. And rising and pulling a ground round her, she bade me come with her. All traces of her panic-stricken fear had vanished. We arrived in the Antarctica room to find Dr. Leidner and Father Livigny. The latter had also heard a noise and had risen to investigate. कोई आवाज कर रहा था, तो लिविग्नी जो था वो भी उठ करके भागा और वहाँ पे पहुंच. लिविग्नी, फादर लिविग्नी, and had fancied he saw a light in the Antica room. He delayed putting on slippers and snatched up a toss and found no one by the time he got there. The door, moreover, was duly locked and was supposed at night. Whilst he was assuring himself that nothing had been taken, Dr. Leidner had joined him. Nothing more was to be learned. The outside archway door was locked. The guards swore nobody could have got in from outside. But as they had probably been fast asleep, this was not conclusive. There were no marks or traces of an intruder and nothing had been taken. It had possible that what had alarmed Mrs. Leidner was the noise made by Father Livigny taking down boxes from the shelves to assure that everything was in order. On the other hand, Father Livigny himself was positive that A. he had heard footsteps passing his window, B. he had seen the flickering of light, possibly a torch in the Antica room. Nobody else had seen or heard anything. The incident is of value in my narrative because it led to Mrs. Leidner's unburdening herself to me on the following day. चलो कल पढ़ेंगे माँ.